empathy, nurturing, empowering, community building, commitment to growth and emancipation, words that define the characteristics of a leader under the servant leadership model. The term servant leader is contradictory to how we imagine either concept individually, the leader and the servant. We believe the leader influences and the servant follows. Servant leadership challenges those ideals and asks the question of how to be both at the same time. From the 1930s to 1960s, Robert Greenleaf spent his career working in management at AT&T. It was during that time that he observed that the organizations that thrived had able leadership, with leaders who acted more as supportive coaches and served both the needs of the employees and the organizations. He summarized his observations with the quote, "The organization exists for the person as much as the person exists for the organization." After he retired in the late 1960s, Robert became a writer and started publishing his works on the sort of leadership model, coining the term servant leadership. Greenleaf proposed that the best leaders were servants first, and the key tools for a servant leader included listening, persuasion, access to intuition and foresight, use of language, and pragmatic measures of outcome. All this sounds like a great concept, but what does it really look like in action? In 2002, Spears went on to elaborate and identify 10 specific concepts in Greenleaf's writings. Commit to helping people in the organization grow personally and professionally. Support followers as they overcome personal problems, and you will both grow. Listen first, be receptive, acknowledge viewpoints of followers. Take responsibility for the role you have been entrusted with. Understand oneself and the impact it has on others. Persuade through communication, not coercion. Be a visionary, provide clear goals and direction. Have the foresight to predict what is coming. Be empathetic. Obviously, as business professionals, we also want to know if the data supports this leadership model. Initially, research studies focused more on the behavioral characteristics of what a servant leadership model looks like, but in the recent years, more empirical studies have been conducted to analyze the effects of these behavioral characteristics. A study out of Chicago in 2014 found that employees working under a servant leadership model showed increased productivity at work, increased job satisfaction, and decreased organizational turnover. A 2017 study of a large healthcare organization seems to support those findings. Data points collected include employee job satisfaction and employee retention, both of which were reviewed as improved under a servant leadership model. When Forbes magazine published its top 100 companies to work for in 2017, it came as no surprise that 5 of the top 10 companies are known to practice servant leadership. So how do we conceptualize the organizational application of the servant leadership model? As leaders, it's easy to get wrapped up in the meetings and tasks and forget about the people keeping your operation going. One way to lead under this model is through social rounding on employees. Learning about them personally, asking them about their day, asking if there's anything you can do to make it better, then following through when they say there is. If you know there is something personal or professionally going on in an employee's life, making sure to recognize and follow up. If you put the employee first, not the task, you will see a return on your investment. As leaders in the nursing industry, we ask how the servant leadership model can be conceptualized from a clinical standpoint. I believe how we I believe how we do this is already built into our educational system. An example would be a clinical instructor who helps students grow and succeed. The behaviors exhibited by clinical instructors recognize the student's contribution and help them reach their potential by empowering students as they grow in their knowledge to function more autonomously. Not for the benefit of the clinical instructor, but for the benefit of the student, the patients, and the healthcare industry. There are many examples of famous people embracing the servant leadership model. Some examples include Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Albert Schweitzer, and Nelson Mandela. Another is Martin Luther King Jr. MLK led the civil rights movement not because he had to, but because he knew there was a need. He put other people's needs before his own in a humble manner that truly displayed the mannerisms of a servant and a leader. His leadership left lasting memories as his actions are still known today. So as you can see, the servant leadership model is so important because if power is seen as something to share rather than something to wield, there is potential to positively impact people, organizations, industries, society, and communities through altruistic and humanistic means. And these are my references. Thank you.